Hey, Doc. I'm not hearing you. You hearing me?
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry, I had muted my mic.
Okay, it's not me then. Okay, good.
David, are you actually in the Bay Area?
No, I'm in San Bernardino.
Okay. I was just showing some background photos of the Alameda County Sheriff's Communication Team operating in the San Francisco Bay, and I wondered if maybe, since you have a picture of the bay, I was wondering if you knew any of them up there.
Yeah, no.
I'd like to tell you about my background here, my backdrop.
Okay.
That is a model I built of my grandfather's house, which existed in South Dakota in the 1800s.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you. 1 to 20 scale.
It had me fooled. I thought it was just a nice looking house, you know.
Just any old piece.
Of course, that's the only size house anybody can afford in California anymore.
Hey, Doc, you're onto something. After World War II, the vets came home and they all got Quonset huts in LA at a cost of something like $1,200 for a whole house, a Quonset hut, until they could get something better. And here, our pallet houses are costing $5,000. A pallet house has pallets for a floor, for God's sakes. It's weird.
After World War II, the houses between Cliff Drive and the ocean were selling for $4,000 to $5,000 a piece.
Oh, yeah.
In South San Francisco, a friend of mine, it was a guy named Don Johnson, W6QIE, and he ran the code practice in probably the 70s and 80s for I think it was on 40 meters, but it might have been 80 at night. And also he was the gateway station in California for all the Mars traffic, the Navy Mars traffic out of Vietnam.
God damn it.
Evening, Daryl.
What did you drop, Mike?
He dropped his dagnabbit.
Anyhow, Don bought a house in South San Francisco for, I think it was $8,000, which pretty much all of, it was a whole section of South San Francisco that was new housing for vets, and they cost $8,000 brand new, the whole thing, and he had one of those.
Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Les, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Evening, Daryl.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be with you this evening.
Yeah, I just realized that Mike's call sign ends in CB. He needs to get rid of that extra B. He could be a ham and a CBer. Never seen it in print before. It just occurred to me.
Are you in your shack there, Ken? Is that all your stuff there behind you?
Yeah, that's the command center. You recognize those old ham radios back there with the little screens on them?
Rod, good to see you.
It's got all the 3-ring binders too.
Look at all those familiar faces out there. This is Rod, WB9 KMO in Mesa, Arizona. I brought a couple friends along with me. They'll probably introduce themselves later. They're all about mesh networking. Good to see you.
Who the heck are you?
What's that again?
Who the heck are you? Hey, I'm a long time.
A stranger, a blast from the past.
Yeah, stranger in the night.
Ken, were you able to do anything to that radio I gave you? The icon?
I just moved back here from Mesa, Mike, or Rod, rather.
Oh, okay. Well, there's still room for you here. A lot of construction going on.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was left with no family down there, so I moved back where my kids were.
Ah,
I understand. There are a lot of people leaving California coming to Arizona.
Yep.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. It's nice here, even when it's 110 degrees.
Oh, it might be 115 outside. It's maybe 85 inside for me.
Yeah, I keep it around 77 or so inside.
72 degrees here right now. It's lovely.
Yeah, I don't miss those.
I get a 20 or 30 degree temperature drop when I come inside. It's always nice.
I don't miss those $400 a month air conditioner bills.
I don't have that either. I got panels on the roof.
Yeah, I went solar. I've got 48 panels on the roof. Well, most months I sell back.
I can't keep it to anything. It's just whatever it is with the windows open. 74 in Goleta right now. There's no AC in this town.
63 on the Mesa,
Nice. Inside?
outside.
Oh, it's 75 here outside, 74 inside, or maybe the other way around.
76 inside, but 63 out.
Wow, 10-degree difference from Winchester Canyon to the Mesa. Must be that elevation.
Oh, yeah.
We can't have air conditioning. The grid couldn't take it.
Well, I was there for 35 years and I did appreciate the weather there. It was very nice.
Come back, come back.
I visit from time to time. I was back on Memorial Day for about a week, but whenever I come back, I'm really busy.
There's room for you. Come back.
I can't afford it anymore.
Oh, come on.
Now, I got used to paying much lower prices for things. And so I don't know. I've got to win the lottery, then I can come back.
You have to buy tickets.
64 degrees over here in Lompoc.
My thermometer out front, actually, I've got a Tempest weather station, and it says it's 67 in the front. That 75 is on the back porch. So I guess it's just trapping a lot of heat. So it's not really quite as desperate as I claimed. More like 4 degrees hotter than the Mesa. Disparate? Disparate.
Yes, Hackelman. Hey, Dave. Good to see you.
Hi, Daryl. Good to see you.
How are you? Long time.
Yeah, just fine. Still hemming.
That's good.
Good to see you, Dave. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
checked. It's 90 degrees here. The sun is going down, so it's cooling off.
90 degrees.
Okay,
90?
let's see.
But when it gets to be 90 in Santa Barbara, you wish you had air conditioning.
That is true.
We can go to the beach. It's 90.
Well,
Jump in the ocean.
Yeah, that was always a good thing to do.
well, actually, I've found so far for 3 or 4 years now that the overhead fans will handle the heat on nights when it's really too warm. It's just the overhead fan takes care of it. So
You're used to heat.
Yeah, people adapt to their environment
the day I
amazingly
left,
well too.
the day I drove out of Phoenix, it was 116 on May the 1st. May the 1st, and it was already 116 degrees.
I didn't know anybody went in that direction anymore. I thought they were all going out.
Yeah, but that's what I say when I was going out of, that was me going out of town 4 years ago.
Hey, Stuart, what are you doing in Arizona?
Going lower taxes.
Oh, you just temporarily there?
No, I bought.
Oh, did
Sold
you?
the condo in Oxnard, and that made a nice pile of money, put a third of it down on this place, and I'll pay another third down shortly.
Good for you. Well, as long as you're happy.
Got a little bit more room. I'm in a real house rather than a condo. And yes, I am under CCNRs, but they're reasonable. By that, I mean, I've asked permission to put up a flag, and they said a flagpole and a flag, and they said, go ahead.
There you go.
And so the flagpole is gonna also hide a 6 to 80 vertical. I've asked permission to put up some artificial plants. I've got those up right now. One of them looks suspiciously like a disc cone. Another looks suspiciously like an octopus dipole.
Well, when I was in Mesa, I put up I could have had higher, but I put up a 55-foot tubular tower. And when I inquired about the permits, it turned out that you don't need a permit unless you're going over 75 feet.
Ah, okay.
You need a building permit, but you don't need any use permit. So
Well, I'm in a development.
oh yeah.
And that means that someone else actually has the ending rights to the land. I own the property. However, they've got a conditions on it saying that I've got to abide by the homeowners association. So I'm giving the homeowners association what they want. I asked them, they gave me permission to put up artificial plants. So I ordered from Walmart some artificial plants, cut the leaves off, and tie wrap them onto a disc cone and tie wrap them onto an octopus dipole.
You guys ready to get started here?
Of course not.
You bet.
I don't see your.
We've got a pretty good crowd in here. I've been letting couple more stragglers, I think, will be coming along, but we got 25 in here, and I'm sure we got a few on YouTube. So let's get started. welcome everybody. I see we got a lot of sevens here tonight, so we'll have you guys introduce yourselves when we make the rounds here in a couple minutes. Welcome to Santa Barbara virtually. And we're here, I got 70 degrees outside. Very nice. Let's see, I just have one announcement before we get started. I think those of you that have that use the 146 or 14518 repeater on Sandy Inez Peak and have had difficulty with it in the past, we have the problem resolved for now, so everything is working. There's a nice new microwave link between Sandy Inez Peak and the Mesa, and it's working very well. Thanks to Wayne for making many trips up there to get all that going, and we have no more of the dropping out problems that we used to have. So I think we're good for a little while. We're still proceeding with the RF link, but we're not under quite as much pressure now to get that fixed. So let's see. Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with the drill here, we always start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So we'll do that now. I even have a nice little flag here. I pledge allegiance
To
the flag
flag
of the
of the United States
of America,
To the republic
for which it stands,
one nation.
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
visible, with liberty and justice for all.
I always feel a little like Patton when I do this. Got the big flag behind me here. Okay, let's introduce ourselves. I'm going to read off your name as I see it on my screen. They're probably going to be different for everybody. I'll start off. I'm Brian, K6BPM. I'm the president of SBARC, and I'll be the MC tonight. Let's see. First one is John, AF7PA.
Where is he?
Need to unmute, John.
That ought to sound a whole lot better. I'm about 6 miles from Rod. He's up the hill, I'm down a hill. And it's about 95 degrees down here, cooling off. And I've got everything packed up. I'm going to move to North Carolina in about 3 weeks. So hopefully I'll get back on out there. So I'll turn it back to you. That's a little bit about myself. AF7PA.
Good luck.
Thank you, John. Okay, next is Doc, W6EW.
Okay, I'm Doc, Whiskey 6 Echo Whiskey. I'm a retired physician. I'm living in Santa Barbara now. To move back, as I was describing earlier, from several years in Arizona. And there's a lot of things I miss about it, but the heat's not one of them. Anyhow, that's my story, and I'm in Santa Barbara for good now, I think.
Dorothy, K6DSO.
Hi, I'm Dorothy, Kilo 6 Delta Sierra Oscar. I'm the club secretary, and I don't know what the temperature is.
Kelly, KD6OVS.
Oh, let's see. Kelly, KD6OVS. Yes, this is me. This is my new pocket size disposable slide rule. And here we are in beautiful downtown Santa Barbara and San Roque. And it's nice and smoky. And back to net. I mean, here we are again.
Okay, Michael, KI7LXY.
Unmute myself. Michael, I'm about 20 miles straight south of Rod. I'm originally from the Los Altos Bay Area, so just down the hill from San Francisco. Current president of Arizona Mesh, one of the founding members of Mesh, and an invitee from Rod. He thought this would be a good presentation for me to listen in on. So other than that, that's kind of me. Back to you guys. KI7LXY.
Larry, W6MBJ.
Yeah, I'm Larry, WA6MVJ, and coming to you live and direct from beautiful downtown Nolita.
Ron, W6KKG. You have to
John.
unmute, Ron. You're muted, Ron. You're
John,
still muted, Ron.
Whiskey 6 Kilo Green. I'm in Goleta, California, somewhere between Santa Barbara and Nolita. And I don't know the temperature, but I know I'm about a half mile from Doc and a half mile from Dorothy right across the road. So welcome to all of you.
I'm going to take your car.
Okay, John, W6JPG.
I'm going to take your car. John, W6JPG down in Ventura. It's 70 degrees down here. Feels nice.
All right, Bob, KG5CLC.
Hello, Bob Owen here. I've been a member for 3 or 4 years, but here in Santa Barbara, but I haven't been very active. I've been in a house in Tennessee, so spending some time there.
All right, Scott, KJ6VMH.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott, KJ6VMH. I'm currently on vacation up in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm interested and curious to learn about what you guys are doing with mesh.
Dave Hackelman.
Hi, this is Dave, K6 Victor Mike Lima in San Bernardino. It's a very pleasant 76 degrees right now. And I was up your way a couple of weekends ago, and it was good to see Brian and others at the club station. So there you go.
All right, Dave, come back soon.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Okay. Okay, we have another Brian, KM6VSQ.
Hi, my name is Brian also, and I'm from the Santa Barbara area as well, and looking forward to the meeting tonight.
All right, let's see. Rod, WB9KMO from Arizona.
Hello, everybody. This is Rod, WB9KMO, and I am a proud member of the Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club. And it's really great to see all you guys. I actually do feel like I'm at home. I think I lived in Santa Barbara more than any other place in my life, so it definitely feels like home. And I'm also a member of the Arizona Mesh organization, and we have a little bit to do with mesh networking in what we call the East Valley, which is just east of the Phoenix area. And this little ATN thing I've got means Amateur Television Network. I do a few things with that. In fact, I have a TV repeater in Santa Barbara along with a 224.86 FM repeater. So, and I have all Starlink connected to the 224.86, by the way. So I can talk directly into Santa Barbara with that. But I love to see you guys, and I'm really looking forward to Orb's presentation. I know he's a good asset to the mesh networking community. So I invited some of my friends along tonight. Back to you.
All right, let's see. Les in Arizona.
2 S's.
Your turn, Les.
CKG, right?
Oh, you didn't want to unmute?
Are you talking about me, Brian?
No, the other Les. There's 3 Les's here? Oh, okay. You, Les, the one nodding your head.
More or less.
Yeah. You're muted.
All right, I'm Daryl, KF6DI. Good evening, everybody. You did call me, right, Brian?
No.
You did not. Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. I'm still trying to get Les. He was talking, but he's
Okay.
muted.
Coming through now?
Yeah.
Okay, W6CGE, halfway up the mesa here in Santa Barbara. And would love to know more about mesh. It sounds like a tremendous possibility. It has tremendous potential, and I'd love to know more about it. So that's me from here. And I hope you guys in Arizona can get permission from powers that be to use solar once in a while to beat some of that heat.
Okay, Daryl, now it's your turn.
Well, it's my time. Good evening, everybody. I'm Daryl, KF6BI. Longtime member of this club, past president in 1995 and 1996. Lived in Santa Barbara since 1963. A long time ago. So I am interested to learn. I would like to learn more about this meshing. I read about it, and not a lot of ham radio stuff, but I read about it in other areas. And so other people are using it, and I'd like to learn more about it. Maybe I can fit it into my ham station. Back to you.
Okay, Joe, you in there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm my association with SPARC goes back to Field Day 1950. I'm a former president, and I might explain the background. That is a 1 to 20 scale model of my grandfather's original cabin in the Black Hills of South Dakota, dating back to the 1800s. Over.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Ken, KA6KEN.
Hi, KA6KEN, Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club and president of Santa Barbara Electronic Supply Retail in Santa Barbara, Goleta. I guess as it pertains to tonight's discussion, very involved in early patents for wireless pre-Wi-Fi, late 1980s, involving some of the first commercial spread spectrum systems, and currently founder of Impulse Internet Services, where we've got hundreds of point-to-point, point-to-multipoint, and point-to-any-point wireless, but no mesh. So figured I'd like to learn something about it.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, Stuart, KG6BOV in Arizona.
All in beautiful Santa Barbara. I have escaped from Ventura and the California tax laws. Relocated up here, and Ken, I think you need to buy Orv a dinner and let him mind meld with you.
Good deal.
Yeah, known Orv for a bunch of years from the time he was WD6WBY, I think, way back when, or WBI. And is my memory good, Orv?
WB6 Whiskey Echo Yankee. You were close.
Okay. Yeah. And did 20 some years in Oxnard as an EC, and now up here and putting up stealth antennas to make the homeowners association happy so they look like trees or plants.
All right, Stuart. Well, enjoy Arizona. Mike, KC6CBB in the water. Well, we had a little trouble hearing you, Mike. The looks like you might not have a great internet connection there.
I can't fix it. I can't fix it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're the. Okay, there's one we can do there. Let's see, Dave, K9JKN.
Yes, Dave, K9JKN, eastern part of Mesa, Arizona. Just listening in to learn more about mesh.
Okay, Les, KN6CKG.
Good evening, everyone. I'm up here in Lompoc. I've been wearing my hands out, replacing a main water line for residents. So it's always fun when concrete has wire in it. So took a little bit extra for today and yesterday. But at any rate, we have 64 degrees over here. The last time I took a look, and as quickly as it's cooling down, it might actually be cooler than that right now. So anyway, normally down there in Camarillo, we're here for the evening. So anyway, back to the net.
Okay, Eric, KG6WXC.
I hope you guys are hearing me. I'm Eric, KG6WXC. I live down here in Oxnard, Ventura County area. I'm like a minor contributor to the Arden project itself, with code and stuff, and created mapping programs for it, and lots of other things for the mesh, and started on the mesh in Santa Barbara. So.
Yeah, if you guys have been on the website and looked at the Mesh Network tab on the website, there's a beautiful map shows where all of our nodes are and the connections, and Eric is responsible for that. He created that, so looks very nice. I see they got Arizona too. Let's see who's next here. Eric Shug.
Oh, I've been an associate member and a part-time attendee of the meetings over the last couple of years, and I figured I'd come in tonight and see what the topic is more about.
Okay, Eric. Or of W6BI, who's also going to be our speaker tonight in a few minutes.
No, Orv.
Hi, guys. I'm down here in Simi Valley. Temperatures, I don't know, around 70. I am going to be speaking about mesh networking, and you'll probably hear more than you ever want to know about it.
Wayne, AF6GX.
Yeah, I'm Wayne, Alpha Foxtrot 6 Golf X-ray, and I take care of the repeaters and the links between them and that sort of stuff.
It's not just stuff, Wayne. That's important stuff.
Takes up my time.
Yeah. Okay, Rod, KA6GSU. Hello, Rod. Yeah, he's probably around somewhere. Okay, did I miss anybody?
Wait, well, just a comment while we're talking about stuff. We just brought back about 500 pounds of repeaters from our folks down south. Donated a bunch of repeaters and things, so the club station now is cluttered right now a bit. So we'll have to sort through that.
Okay.
So don't be surprised tomorrow morning.
Okay, it'll look like Christmas morning when I walk in there, huh?
Yep.
A repeater for everybody.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Well, 4 or 5 years ago, Orv introduced us to mesh networking with the Arden mesh networking system. And we had mesh fever around here for quite a while. Experimenting with them, getting nodes put up, failing with them, but more than anything else, we had a good time doing it. And most of us that put them up still have them up. We haven't done much with them in a while, but they still work, and they're very reliable. If you don't know anything about mesh, it's like a giant private Wi-Fi network. And although the units that we use special software so that they can jump from one mesh node to another mesh node to another mesh node. And it's a little like using, if you've used packet radio and used KA nodes or something, you can reach one node by going through another node, an intermediate node. And but this the software on the mesh nodes figures it all out for you. You don't have to be a wizard. Once it's up, you can connect to it with your computer, and there's video, there's weather stations, there's all kinds of stuff there. The nice thing is that if everything goes dead, the mesh network is going to run independently. So if we have no telephone, no cellular, and no internet, we still have our mesh network. We can send email, we can do pretty much everything you can do on regular commercial internet, except reach people on the actual internet, although there's ways to do that, which maybe we'll get to. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Orv, and we'll listen to what he's got to say. I got in touch with him because I'm hoping that he can get us excited again, and we'll get to work on this and get it upgraded, get everybody's firmware upgraded, get what kind of new equipment we need to make this a better network. They've had plenty of time working on it, and it's come a long way. And so Orv is going to bring us up to date. Orv, I made you a co-host here so you can operate the screens and everything.
I'll do that. Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
And boy, do I have a deal for you guys up there. If everybody could mute their microphones so the recording comes clean, I'd appreciate it. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Did I share? Can you see my screen, Brian? I never can tell.
You're not sharing.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Oh, I see what I did. Hang on. Too many moving parts. There we go. How's that?
Success.
Excellent. Too many buttons. So anyway, I'm Orv, W6BI. I've been messing around with this ham networking stuff for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. Pretty deeply involved in it. I do give a lot of presentations. This is my third one for SBARC. I think the first one was in 2016, then 2018, and COVID got in the way, so now it's 2021. So first thing I want to do is talk about ham radio digital data rates, how fast you can send data through the various modes. And we're talking about modulation rates, not throughput. You know that your 100 megabit per second internet connection doesn't pull 100 megabits per second, not nearly. And it's true for everything else. Packet radio is 1200 baud, and with the modulation they use, 1 baud is 1 bit per second. In modern terms, that's 0.0012 megabits per second. Wasn't especially fast in the 80s, and it hasn't gotten any faster. PACTOR can do up to about 5,200 bits per second, 5 kilobits. VARA is a software modem. It can be used on either HF or FM, and with specific radios, you can do up to 25 kilobits per second, substantially better than packet radio. But the Arden ham radio network links, and they are ham radio links. They're not wireless anymore, they're ham radio links. They can do more than 100 megabits per second. But again, that's not end-to-end throughput. That's modulation rate. Anyway, the software as of today, it was derived from the OpenWRT open source router software. And OpenWRT in itself was based on Linux. And Arden took that and threw away what they didn't needed and added in the essential ham radio bits. It currently supports 4 brands of equipment, over 70 different models across 4 ham radio bands. They've come a long ways. If you happen to be in an RF black hole, you can get on the network by tunneling between your node and somebody on the network. The Arden software has the capability of moving the radios in the access points out of the Part 15 channels that everybody uses into the adjacent Part 97 ham radio only channels. And as you'd expect, it's a lot quieter there, so the radios work a lot better. And the radios support what they call MIMO, multiple input, multiple output. That means you send two data streams on the same channel, one polarized vertically, one polarized horizontally. And the 802.11n wireless protocol is the one that makes the MIMO work and fly. Now, Arden also threw in a DNS server, a DHCP server, so software for route discovery and routing information. So you don't have to be a really up to speed on networking to get this stuff going. And all those three combined make getting going on ham radio networks pretty easy. So with the software, the Arden software loaded in these wireless access points, we call them nodes. Unlike 8 or 10 years ago, there's not a lot of hacking involved. You can use off-the-shelf gear. That really lowers the entry point into this part of the hobby. The 4 different brands are Ubiquiti, TP-Link, MikroTik, and GL.iNet. The vast majority of hams use Ubiquiti and MikroTik. TP-Link's good too. It's just not as popular in this part of the country. When you load them up with Arden software, put them on the air, they find the other nodes and they create a ham radio TCP IP network. Like the internet, only slower and a lot smaller. But you have to kind of consider them like handy talkies. They're low power, usually around 600 milliwatts, and they're definitely in line of sight. There's no knife edge refraction like you might get on a 2-meter repeater. So like a handy talkie, they usually communicate through a hilltop radio site. With a handy talkie, it's a repeater. With these nodes, it's another node. And the routing algorithm will always choose the strongest path. So if it hears multiple hilltops, it doesn't matter. It's always going to go to the strongest one, which is why we recommend directional antennas rather than omni. You might as well focus all your RF energy on the path it's going to take anyway. So I've had this logo, this image for, I don't know, years and years and years now, and I've been updating it to the capabilities of the newest hardware. However, it's still one tree. So you've built up this great ham radio network, but it's like the internet. It doesn't do anything. It just lets you get to things, services, the things you can actually use. And all of these things I've thrown up here on the screen, you can put on the network, plus anything else you can think of that might be useful, subject to the Part 97 regulations. So here are some examples of services. This is not a comprehensive list. These are just some things we've tried here in Southern California. A lot of them we still use, some of them we don't. A communication hub is kind of like what you have used in business, maybe, like Slack. Mattermost and Rocket Chat are two open source Slack wannabes. We run Mattermost here. They all support text and pictures. You can create multiple channels so people can go off and talk by themselves or different topics. All of the servers have web access, plus there are client apps for all the popular operating systems. So Eric will remember this one. This is our Mattermost server in Ventura County. Eric and his family were out camping the night of the Ridgecrest 7.1 earthquake. They got bounced around pretty well, but no harm. The next morning, he drove over and took this picture of the surface rupture, and he was able to share it with us. There's no ham radio network out in the high desert, but there is wireless. And because Eric runs two Mattermost servers, one on the internet and one on the mesh network, which are tied together, he was able to share this picture with us on the mesh network. It's pretty slick. We're on it all the time. Voice over IP, we'll talk about phones first. This picture is now about 5 years old. At the time we were deploying stuff, Paul EBY was not comfortable with deploying a software-based solution like Asterisk or something like that. So he bought this turnkey VoIP PBX from Grandstream. It's, I don't know, $275 or something, and it still had far more capabilities than we need. And here it is. You can see it deployed in the repeater shack on Sulphur Mountain south of Ojai. At this point, there are about 30 extensions off of the PBX on the mesh network, of course. Most of them are hams, but every place we deploy the mesh network to a served agency, we give them a VoIP phone and an extension. So here's a picture of a Grandstream phone, which we recommended people buy because it's easier to manage with the Grandstream software. But you can see that I missed a call and somebody left me a voicemail. The software has all the features you'd expect of a PBX, call waiting, call forwarding, conference bridges, stuff like that. Here's the second one deployed, not very impressive. This is a Raspberry Pi 3 running free PBX. The mesh network extends over into the San Fernando Valley, and this PBX is deployed on Verdugo Peak. The two PBXs are trunked together, so the hams with extensions off this PBX can dial extensions off the Simi Valley or Ventura County PBX by prefacing it with a pseudo area code that we've created. We have 2 or 3 more PBXs we're going to trunk together when I get around to it. So collaboration servers, that's the term that for the servers that you've seen the gamers use, TV and movies. Things like TeamSpeak, Mumble, TeamTalk. If you go on Wikipedia, there's a list of at least a couple dozen. They all have similar capabilities: voice and video chat, file sharing, desktop sharing. I'm sure there's more. We chose TeamTalk because it's one of the few that doesn't mandate encryptions. So we got to avoid that whole encryption discussion. So anyway, it has many-to-many, like you'd expect, chat rooms, one-on-one chats, and you can set up as many channels as necessary. You can use the speaker and microphone in your laptop, or a USB headset works really well. And the conversations are full duplex. That means when somebody's talking, you don't have to wait for them to time out the repeater. You can interrupt them mid-sentence. Makes it a lot more natural conversation. And if you have multiple channels, people can go off and talk, and they can have simultaneous voice conversations. It's pretty easy to do because each voice conversation is typically around 30 kilobits per second when they're talking. And on the mesh network, that's not much. When the conditions are good, and they almost always are, the codecs in the phones or in your computer shift up to the maximum possible speed. So you're not limited to the 300 to 3000 hertz communications grade audio you're used to in a repeater. We have a Wednesday night net, and during the net, I'll close the office doors, put on the headset, and just have a regular conversation with people. And with headsets on and the audio adjusted properly, it's like they're in the same room. For those of us who may not have as good a hearing as we used to, it's a pleasure to listen to. TeamTalk supports push to talk, any key on the keyboard, Vox, you know what that is, or open mic, which is a nailed up connection between 2 stations, or any number of them on one channel. Now, we've never used this, but you might conceive of it being useful between, say, a fire camp and a base. Set up a couple TeamTalk laptops in quiet rooms, and leave it open, and somebody could run up to one of them and say, "Hey, I need to talk to Bob," and the other end will say, "Hang on, I'll go get him." Again, it's open nailed up connection, 30 kilobits per second, no problem. So here's a TeamTalk application. This is the Windows application. You can see the people logged in on the left. When a person is talking, the background behind their call is green. When they release push to talk, it goes yellow. So you can see Dave, KM6FQ, was the last one to talk. Up at the top, you see 4 tabs: chat, video, desktops, files. there's a file storage area there. You can show desktops, and there's video. So we don't run video very often. I find it doesn't add a lot to a QSO. But every once in a while, I have guys turn on their cameras to kind of stress test the network and stress test the server. There's 7 streams there, 7 videos. Typically, we have the clients configured by 640 by 480 by maybe 10 or 15 frames per second. And that winds up being about 100 kilobits per second. So we have 7 streams going up to the server and 7 streams coming back down. That's 1.4 megabits per second. Typically, when I measure the network going across the county, it'll support anywhere between, I don't know, 2 and 5 megabits per second, depending on what's going on. So you can see it can support it easily. During this test, the server, which by the way is a Raspberry Pi 3, was 10% CPU utilization and 10% network utilization. So you can see it supported it easily. Let me let this guy in. There. Down at the left, on the left side, you can see aux channel 1 and aux channel 2. That's what I named them. They don't have to be called that. It could be Red Cross chapter. It could be Fire Camp 6, whatever you want to call it. But if 2 guys want to go off and talk privately, they double click on that channel. They're moved over there. They can have a conversation independent of the main channel. When they're done, they can double click at the root channel up at the top and rejoin the group. So this works very, very well. And the nets are a lot of fun. I'm going to talk at length about this. This is kind of what kicked it off. In late 2016 and early 2017, all the way through 2017, Paul, WD6BI, was building a backbone across Ventura County, excuse me, from hilltop to hilltop, adding access points here and there for user access. And at this particular site, which is Sulphur Mountain, he threw up an old junker camera, just, single focus. Oh, that's him calling there. Geez, the VoIP phone, the bat phone. And in September of 2017, Ben, AI6YR, sent me an email with a link to an article about how to stream webcams to YouTube. He said, take a look at it, see if we can make it work. I messed around with it a bit, did get it to work, showed him the URL. That was cool. It was my driveway test webcam, but it worked. Well, about 8 weeks later, the Thomas Fire broke out near Santa Paula, California, on a hot, dry, windy day. Ben pinged me about 20 minutes after it broke out and said, hey, we have a camera up there, don't we? Can you stream it? Geez, new site, different brand of camera, different model of camera, different operating system, but they did get it working in pretty good order. And as luck would have it, this junker camera was pointing at the source of the fire. We streamed this to YouTube for about 2 hours. Like I said, it was really windy that day, and we lost Edison power at an intermediate network point. At that time, there was no backup power on a lot of the sites. Subsequent to losing the video, the fire came down the hill. The light there is the light at the owner's gate to his property. This site is on private property. It came down the hill, turned to the left, to the west, right up to the base of the tower, continued west, and just totally tore up the town of Ventura. We learned a number of things from this. Backup power everywhere, more sites, pan-tilt zoom cameras, and harden everything as much as you can. And that's what we've been doing ever since. It's an ongoing process. About 4 or 5 days after this happened, I got an email from a fire inspector from the Ventura County Fire Department asking for the URL of the video up on YouTube. I gave it to him. He thanked me. Never did hear anything back, but we did hear through the grapevine that they found it useful because it was the first available video of this particular fire. So that was in December. the following June, during the Board of Supervisors proclamation of Ham Radio Month, they specifically mentioned this video. So it definitely got noticed. And a few months after that, we had the Woolsey fire. It broke out in Woolsey Canyon, which is 2 to 3 screens off to the left of what you can see here in Woolsey Canyon, which is right on the border between LA and Ventura County. Again, another hot, windy Santa Susana conditions day, and it didn't take long at all for that fire to blow up. In fact, we actually saw it start early in the morning. As luck would have it, this mesh network site is on the north central slope of Simi Valley, and we had a pan-tilt zoom camera there, and here it's pointing southwest at the southwest corner of Simi Valley. We streamed this for 36 hours straight and had hundreds and hundreds of people watching it. We heard later on that a lot of them found it obviously a lot more timely than what they were getting from your regular media channels. The fire came down that hill and threatened the southwest corner of the city. Fire department fought it off. It turned to the south, went over those hills, down into Thousand Oaks, tore up a lot of structures, continued down into Malibu, burned more structures, and then it burned to the ocean. Those were the 2 big fires. Since then, I've streamed videos of various fires in the area in the eastern county. We're not real set up with cameras in the west end of the county yet. I caught this one about a year ago. Happened to be right at the base of the hill where the camera was. That's, if anybody's familiar with it, that's the Santa Susana Pass where the 118 goes through. Helicopter making a water drop there. And if you look down at the bottom middle, you can see the strike team that a previous helicopter dropped off. I streamed this one also. You know, they got it out in good order, but it's always nice to have this. And I will give the URL of any large fire in the county to Ben. He's very much into emergency communications and has a large Twitter following who follow him for emergency information, and he will post the YouTube URL out there, and they find it very useful. Anyway, the other thing you can use this stuff for is messaging, obviously, a digital mode. You can use regular old email because this is SMTP. If your group wanted to set up a standard email server, you could use things like Thunderbird as your client, or web-based would be Roundcube, things like that. But what we find it really useful for is WinLink. WinLink and the mesh network are made for each other. So I'm going to talk a little bit about WinLink. Worldwide messaging system, originally for boaters. Originally on HF, it was using ALE radios, automatic link establishment. These are commercial frequency agile radios, quite pricey. Over the time, AX25 packet radio, robust packet, which I had to look up. It's an SCS proprietary protocol. If you don't know SCS, they're the vendor who makes the Pactor modems. The Pactor modems, I don't know, between $1,500 and $1,800. They're quite pricey. RDOP and VARA HF are software modems that you can use to communicate over HF. RDOP is an earlier protocol. It's mostly being dropped over for the newer VARA HF protocol. It's a software modem, $69 for a license. And I looked at some performance data someone had done comparing VARA to Pactor, and VARA is very, very competitive with all the Pactors. In fact, in under certain conditions, it's better than Pactor 4. So if you're budget limited, VARA HF is certainly the way to get on WinLink with HF. On VHF, we've got all of these, packet radio, APRS, and VARA on an FM radio, which I mentioned earlier. But WinLink a couple of years ago added support for ARDN networking. As you would expect, it's much faster and even better, no digipeating required. The network knows how to get to the destination, so it's just that more streamlined. And if you're not familiar with WinLink, it comes with a a large library of canned messaging templates, Incident Command System, USGS, FEMA. There are some other local ones, and they're all the time keeping them current and updated. And if you have local forms, you can distribute them too. Excuse me. I got this graphic off of the WinLink website. They haven't updated it in a while, so with my great graphics skills, I updated it. The HF WinMore protocol has been deprecated. It's no longer used. Like I said, RDOP is used, but not widely. So VARA for HF, VARA for FM, and the ham radio networking is at that layer there, the local networking. So here's a picture of the WinLink email client, WinLink Express. It looks pretty much like an email, inbox, outbox, you know, sent, deleted, stuff like that. But it can be more complex to set up because you don't just ship it out. Depending on whether the station you're on, if you want to ship it out over the internet, you have to ship it to a specific post office. If you're going to go point to point, you have to designate the 1200 baud path for packet, the VARA FM path. There's a bit to learn about it, but it does work well. So anytime you send a mail, you have to start up a session. This particular one is a session to a WinLink post office on the mesh network. It gives you all the progress as you send it. WinLink doesn't allow you to send anything that's larger than about 20 or 22 kbytes, obviously, because it takes forever to send on HF. But here's an example of one I sent to a post office on our mesh network 3 hops away. And you can say that you can see in the red circles there, start, send package, finish, 10 seconds. Not too shabby. If you're going to move a lot of data via WinLink, you really ought to consider seriously getting a mesh network set up between those WinLink stations. Other thing you do is repeater over IP linking. They make equipment for linking analog repeaters together. The JPS and SkyMirror are 2 of them I know about. All they need is Ethernet between them. It could be a wire, could be the internet, or it could be a mesh network. And if you want to link up 2 analog repeaters on 2 hills that are line of sight, rather than buying 2 UHF linking repeaters plus the cavities plus controller, you might want to consider putting a mesh network between them. This is one of the reasons to persuade repeater owners that it's a good idea to have a mesh network in their area. All sorts of uses for it, telemetry, and I don't know what all else. And you can also link All-Star, D-Star, and DMR repeaters. Eric has played around with DMR down here in Ventura County. Other things you can put on the network, weather stations. I have a Pete Brothers Altimeter 2100, a beautiful piece of equipment, but the output is either an LCD on the screen or serial ports. So serial port to USB converter to a Raspberry Pi running Raspbian, I guess, and then software from WeWX.com. It's called WeWX, and it's available for, I don't know, pretty much every OS and supports hundreds and hundreds of weather instruments. So this is what's sitting on the mesh network, and WeWX is smart enough to push it up to the cloud someplace. So I have it mirrored up on my cloud server so I can see what the weather is at home anywhere. And it will also push out to Wonderground, and there's a couple others. It's not all about MCOM. You've got to have some fun. We've played with Scrabble a couple times. BZ Flag runs on it. We played with this for a little bit. I suck at shooting a tank, but that's beside the point. And once in a while, we'll play a couple hands of Texas Hold'em. So what's out there for equipment? Like I said, you don't have to hack it anymore. It's designed for outdoor use. So it's weatherproofed, uses power over Ethernet. There's 4 twisted pairs in an Ethernet cable, 2 for data, and they use the other 2 for power and ground. It's very standardized, very handy. You only have to run 1 cable up the mast. I can't believe that we pay so little for the sophisticated hardware that's inside these things. There's 2 chains, that's what they call them. That's the transceiver and the modem. for each of 2 channels for the MIMO, multiple input, multiple output. And most of them have built-in gain antennas, directional gain antennas, and there are 2 of them, one vertically polarized and one horizontally polarized. The MIMO and 802.11n is the software that knows how to take advantage of the MIMO. If you want to be impressed, skim the article in Wikipedia on 802.11n. I think once you get 4 or 5 paragraphs in, your head will start to hurt, but that'll tell you what it can do. Remember the old flickering TV screens due to multipath from airplanes? 802.11 multipath, no problem. I'll take the data in through both paths. Just a heads up here, if you're going to buy used equipment, some of the older gear only has 8 megs of flash and 32 megs of RAM. As OpenWRT grows, as they add features and models, so does Arden. It's conceivable that over the next year or so, OpenWRT will stop support for some of the older models. And if they do, it doesn't mean you can't run Arden on them. It just means you can't take advantage of future versions of Arden if they go beyond that limit. Also, if it's got an N connector on it, it's not MIMO. Don't buy it. They're poor performance compared to the modern stuff, and they don't mix well. It's kind of like water and oil. If you're interested, on the Arden webpage, they have a supported product matrix, devices they support, but the ones they aren't recommending for new purchase anymore are flagged, they're color-coded. So this goes back about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now. WRT 54G from Linksys was the first that broadband hamnet supported. You remember that 600 milliwatt power output I talked about? This thing has 60 milliwatts. So you're 10 dB down right there. And in spite of having 2 coax connectors in the back, it's not MIMO, doesn't support 802.11n, only has, I think, 4 megs of flash. Plus you got to run it to external cables and you get even more loss in the cables. So if you have a stack of these and you have a door that needs propping open, well, you get my idea. Okay, these are Ubiquiti nano stations for 2 gigs and 5 gigs. They're excellent for short haul, 10 to 12 miles, as long as you got line of sight. I got a little asterisk there by the M5 that in a metropolitan area, you may not want to buy one for a new purchase, and I'll talk about why later. So here's 2 of the big sellers here. On the left is Ubiquiti Power Beam for 5 gigs. In the 300, 400, and 620 millimeter scare your neighbor size, each with progressively higher gain. And on the right-hand side are the Microtics, the Lighthead Grid 5 and the other 2 models. The Microtics are very favored by the guys who are backfitting digital capabilities into their Go boxes. The hexagonal support structure there on the dish you can see is made out of plastic. And while the mesh is metal, it's very, very light. So not only does it make the dish very, very light, there's much less wind resistance than you get from a solid dish. Okay, I said pretty much everything had antennas on it. This obviously is not designed for outdoor use. This is a Microtik router, 5-port router. This is pretty much the second thing anybody who gets into mesh network buys almost immediately. So if you're going to get into it, consider buying one of these, and I'll explain why. Here's how it would fit into your ham shack. The ham radio network is on the 10.0.0 network and can't be shifted. That's embedded in the hardware. And everybody at home is running something like 192, 168 dot whatever, which means you'd need 2 different computers. Unless you want to do some really complicated do-jiggery. The Microtik HAP AC Lite with Arden software in it fixes all that. It allows access to both networks, your home network and the ham network, via ports 2, 3, and 4 there. Could be a computer, could be a camera, could be a VoIP phone, and it has lots of other features. And if anybody's wondering, yes, it is firewalled. So, just some examples, lots of pictures from here on out. On the left is a home installation with 2 nanostations. You might wonder, why 2? Well, the site he's talking to, which is about 3 or 4 miles away, has user access for both 2 gigs and 5 gigs. If one of those happens to go down, he's still got connectivity. Where we equip a served agency with a mesh network, if we have the capability of giving them this kind of redundancy, channel redundancy, band redundancy, I guess, or some other type of redundancy, we'll do it. On the right, that's KM6 PTE's set up in Sun Valley. He's got a nano station on the top and a microtik at the bottom. I didn't mention it, but the nano station is one of the few devices, maybe the only device, that has 2 Ethernet ports, a main and a secondary. You run your cable from your shack up to the main connector and back out of the secondary to the, in this case, the microtik, and it will pass through both data and power. So you only have to run 1 cable up there for 2 nodes. Very handy. A lot of guys use a setup like this when they're running portable. So if you happen to be in an HOA area, you know they have to allow satellite dishes. So this is a microtik light dish feed 5 at the feed point of an old satellite dish by virtue of an $8 universal mount. This will get you 23 dBi gain about on 5 gigs. And none of your neighbors will notice that it's not pointed at a synchronous satellite. So a lot of the gear, like a handy talkie, a lot of the gear I showed you previously would not be appropriate for a hilltop installation. So here's some of the stuff you would be using. This is called a sector antenna because it covers a certain number of degrees of the compass. Typically they're 120 degree, and inside that is a 120 degree vertically polarized antenna and a 120 degree horizontally polarized antenna. If you look close on the back, you can see you can see one of the 2 jumpers. There's 2 jumpers coming out of there, coming from the 2 antennas to the top of a Ubiquiti Rocket M5. These are very popular, used widely. If you wanted to cover more than 120 degrees, you would not use an Omni. You'd use 2 of these overlapping on 2 different frequencies, and they'd hook them together with a network switch at the base of the tower. I'm going to talk more about that later. So here's another typical site. This is kind of a small site, although it's pretty capable. This is in North Orange County. Sector antennas for 2.3, 3, and 5 gigahertz, all tied together with a switch in the green box at the bottom. Behind us from the camera view are the solar panels and batteries. This site is about a 1/4 mile hike from the nearest dirt road. So here's the site at Chatsworth Peak that I helped take care of. On the left, on the container there, the stuff on the left side of the container is the county stuff. I don't care about that. The 4-pole there is a UHF repeater in the PVARC, Pleasant Valley Amateur Radio Club network, and there's a UHF linking antenna there. Top of the mast is a Omni for the VHF repeater. We've got 2.4 and 5 gigahertz access points for the ham radio network. There's a 3 gigahertz sector that links 2 other sites in Simi Valley as kind of a local backbone. The little dish is test only. The big dish points west, and that's the west linking backbone. You can't see it in this photo, but there's a set of stairs behind the rocks there. And along the stairs are buried Ethernet cable that go to a much larger container at a higher plateau. And on that container is an east pointing dish that connects to the dish nearest to us on the corner of this container. That's a 3 gigahertz link, 13 miles long, and it does between 50 and 75 megabits per second between them. It's a pretty impressive site, but only a little bit of his mesh networking. This is Verdugo Peak up behind Burbank. This is one of the darn sites. Disaster Area Radio Network, Disaster Amateur Radio Network. Anyway, they were very cordial in letting us occupy their site. Up at the top, there's a west-facing 5 gig sector, south-facing 5 gig, and a west-facing 2 gig. The dishes on the telephone pole pointing farther east extend the network to two different mountaintops to the east. In case you're wondering, this photo was taken right after a really bad windstorm, and the vertical for their HF remote has since been repaired. This is what you'd call a major site. This is Pleasants Peak in Orange County. It's north of Santiago Peak on that ridge, if you're familiar with it. The site is ham radio friendly, fortunately, and one of the main Arden developers lives down there, and he's had a number of years to deploy all this gear. All the stuff you see in yellow is for the ham radio network. Plus, down below the picture are dishes pointing at several different points of the compass to extend the backbone. It's a major hub. So how can you tell, since it's line of sight, if two sites can see each other? If you put your location in one of these online tools, you can tell, hey, what's that.com is easy. Airlink.ui.com is Ubiquity's tool. It's easy to use. Radio Funnel works well. And some of the guys who really get into it use Radio Mobile. I haven't felt the need yet. So on what bands can you work? You can work 900, 2.4, 3, and 5 gigahertz. I'll talk about the others later, but briefly about 900 megahertz, SCRB has only allocated us one 5 megahertz band, megahertz channel. And the whole band is fairly noisy because we co-occupy it with every smart gas meter, electrical meter, whatever kind of meter you have, water meter. So the band is fairly noisy in metropolitan areas. It is used to some extent out farther because it does have an advantage in woody areas, but it's relatively pricey. So 2.4 gigs, that's the ham band from channel 6 down to channel -2. -2 works quite a bit better, as you'd expect, than the part 15 band, the one in blue. Problem with it is there's only one channel. You can't build a cellular system with one channel. Additionally, it's noisier than you think because of splatter from the part 15 stuff up there. There's a lot of poorly designed stuff up there. 3 gigs works very, very well. The good news is it's all ham radio. The bad news is they're going to take part of it away from us next year, and probably the rest of it at some point in the future, at which point I'll sadly take down $1,500 worth of 3 gig gear and throw it in the trash. But we do have 5 gig. We can use all of those channels subject to the band plan. There is some ATV activity in there. Rod, you'll be happy to know that nothing in Ventura County impinges on ATN. The problem with the upper channels, we share them with WISPs, wireless internet service providers, and they can be quite obnoxious. The orange stuff is all ours. Well, we're secondary in the band. Primary in the band was, up until just recently, Department of Transportation. FCC gave it to them as primary, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, to develop a vehicle-to-vehicle protocol. Well, nobody's heard of it since, so the FCC got tired of it and yanked it away from them. And what they're going to do is let other unlicensed services expand into this band. So over time, I would expect that the noise floor on these channels will go up. So if you're going to deploy something new in 5 gigs, buy more gain than you need so you can kind of future-proof your purchase. And that's all I have to say about that. So where do you get info? The Arden website is ardenmesh.org. That I got a list of supported products, software downloads, not only production, nightly builds. They release a production version about annually. Sometimes it's biannually, but typically it's been annually. But in between, as they fix minor bugs, add minor enhancements, or add support for new product, they'll release a nightly build. And many of us don't want to wait for a year for some of those fixes and tweaks, so we'll run the nightly builds. They're really pretty stable. There's, as you would expect, how-tos and FAQs. Steve, AB7PA, took it upon himself to organize all the documentation into a wonderfully organized document. It's called Online Documentation. And if you're the least bit interested, I recommend you skim it. They have forums on the website, deployment, general, bug reporting, and there are regional forums there's a few national ones. There's ones for almost every state. And for the more populous states, they have ones down to counties and areas. And there's a fairly active Facebook group. There's over 1,500 members now. You can go look on Arden or look on YouTube. Arden does have a channel with Arden specific videos as you'd assume. And there are a lot of others. The little asterisk there is to remind me to tell you that there's a lot of old stuff out there. If you find a video talking about how to put broadband Hamnet on a Linksys WRT 54G, obviously you'll want to avoid it. But in general, I would say if you find anything older than 2 or 3 years, maybe take a pass on it, find something newer. I have a beginner's guide PDF, which is a distillation of this, or I have a PDF version of this where I've put in all the verbiage that I've talked about. There is a SoCal Mesh Network mail list you can get on. Just ping me and I'll send you an invite. We're coming up on 200 users. Eric mentioned that he wrote a network map. His initial beta site was Santa Barbara. I'm going to talk about them last, and there's a reason for that. Because it's open source, a number of groups have deployed it in their area, and I've managed to catch screenshots of them just to give you a flavor of what's out there. This particular group in Whatcom County has only been up about 6 months, but they're moving right along. Oregon's running right along for quite a while. Orange is 5 gigs. This is always a memory test for me. Purple is 2 gigs. Pink is 3 gigs. Blue is 900. And the gray ones are no RF links. Those would be like Microtech Hab AC light in somebody's shack. Hawaiian Islands got on the air about a year ago. They have a challenge since there's a high mountain in the middle of every island, but they're going around the perimeters quite well. Currently, last time I looked, all of their inter-island links are tunnels, but they're working very diligently on getting RF links between the islands. As Yakima, Washington, they've built up a nice network in the last couple of years. Chad, KA7HAK deployed those 5 gig nodes over the last year, and only recently put up pan-tilt zoom cameras and got to record his very first brush fire just a few months ago. Here's the San Francisco Wireless Emergency Mesh Network. It's about 2 years old. They've been going gangbusters. City of San Francisco has been very, very cooperative, letting them deploy nodes on top of pretty much every city building or city structure they want. They're currently working on trying to get expanded to the east, farther past the East Bay and down the peninsula. And here's the big daddy, Southern California. We have a lot of hams down here. A lot of deployment. I think there's like 400 nodes showing on this picture last time I counted. We did get a head start. A couple of the Arden team are down in the Orange County area. Here's the network map for Santa Barbara. This is what they deployed 2 or 3 years ago, and it's stable, but it hasn't advanced much. And the rest of this talk is to talk specifically about Santa Barbara, but I think others will find it educational. The little plus in the center is Gibraltar Peak or Gibraltar Rock, whatever you want to call it. And this is just a line of sight map done from it with an assumption of, I don't know, 20 or 30 feet height. And you can see that Santa Barbara is in really great shape because there's 50 square miles there they can cover with one site. There's some gaps that need to be filled in, but I have 3 sites in Simi Valley that I can only cover 17 miles with. So they're in pretty good shape. This is pretty much what they have now. By the way, I'm going to talk about phase 2, a proposal. This is the 120-degree coverage from Gibraltar Peak. They do have people talking to it from farther out on each side. This 120 degrees is at the -6 dB point as the beam intensity drops off. But on the left, Goleta is only 8 miles away. And if you've got enough gain, you can still make a connection. But here's the hot setup here. So there's a 5 gigahertz 90-degree sector antenna pointing at 55 degrees. Clear the heck down the coast. And here's another one pointing at 225 degrees way up to Naples. And if you combine them, that's all you need other than that little fill. So it takes a lot of hardware to do that, but guess what I've got? PVARC was gifted a whole box of stuff, 5 gig stuff from a WISP. I got 3 if anybody wants them, I've got 3 Rocket M5s for those nodes and enough parts to build up 8 NanoBridge M5 22s. I've tested all the radios, they're all good. So what do you need to make it work? 2 sector antennas, they look like they're somewhere around $100 a piece. The outdoor Ethernet cable, of course. If there's not already a PoE network switch up there, you'll have to get one. But the cool thing about that is you add in these 2 5 gig nodes and plug in the 2 gig that's already up there, and you can cross over bands. And whatever tower mounting hardware is needed. I'm done. I whipped right through that, didn't I, Brian? Let me stop sharing. There we go. So I hope I didn't fry anybody's brain. Any questions? If anybody wants to drive down here and pick up this pile of junk, I mean radios, I'm available any day. Oh, I know, Brian. Who manages Gibraltar? Who can get up there, and what kind of opportunities up there? I don't really know what your capabilities are up there. Did Brian go off? Does anybody know anything about Gibraltar Peak?
I think Eric is the one rides herd on that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had it up there. I don't know if I can just go up there and do anything, but I mean, I put the 2 gigahertz stuff up there with the help of
switch
Tom
up there, Brian?
and
Yeah.
yes, there's a PoE switch there. Yeah.
What do we have now?
probably
We
a
just
whole
have the
bunch of
one
empty
sector
ports.
now there, don't we?
Yeah, there's just the one 2 gigahertz, 120 gig giant sector antenna up there.
You could leave it there and just put these 2 up and add them all to the switch. And that means whoever wants to get on those needs a 5 gig node, but I've got 8 of them here in the box, just need to be assembled and loaded with software.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's finding space up there. That place is so dense, you have no idea. Or
Yeah, RF up there's a mess. I did have one question about. So it looks like there's still a gap there. Is that the Riviera?
On the front side, there's going to be a gap, but we can pick that up from the Mesa.
Right. So you got most of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on the Mesa, what you do is point one at Gibraltar and then point another one down where you want to and put it on a different channel. And those could be nanostations, 5 gig nanostations, because they're so close.
Yeah, because the worst spot is well, from Gibraltar, that one spot that you showed there, that's the shady side of the Riviera, the ocean side, and we have a repeater on the top of the Riviera for the local homeowners association, and we have trouble with that area as well. But and we're pretty close by, but that we can solve by putting something on the Mesa. It's only 3 miles or something, and I don't think there's any. But on the plus side, I don't think there's any hams living on the front side of the Riviera.
The city uses Franceschi House, and and the Campanile and Hope to cover those sorts of things.
Brian, do you have any mesh network stuff in served agencies?
No, not currently,
Okay.
but we've had some interest in that. So Bill Talanian has talked to a couple of groups, and then he's asked me about the state of the mesh because they were interested in having the capability of doing email and WinLink and that kind of thing.
The good thing about the topology I posted there, you've got full coverage, you know, up and down the coast there because of your topography, but it's in 2 different cells. There's minimizes the hidden terminal issue.
Right.
Oh, and another thing with that, Brian, is we can now create like mesh DNS aliases, right? And so you can use those host names basically as domain names. So we can create like real mesh email now. And you know, you create I mean, you know how to do this. You create a virtual, a virtual domain email server, but we can do it as long as we can create the correct DNS aliases, or even just use a host name, spark-mail.local.mesh, and then everybody that becomes an email domain, right? And you can send them to the other ones too. So it actually works out pretty cool.
Do you have something like MX records or something for?
No, you don't need MX records. SMTP will fall back to trying to look up the host name.
Okay.
It's in the RFC. It took me a while to realize this too, that it's actually in the RFC, and that's its normal behavior.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to fall back to the A record if it's not.
Yeah, so we use that. We sort of abuse that thing about it to create a mesh, like truly a mesh email system. I mean, servers, they're going to keep trying. If it breaks apart, they'll keep trying for a little while, and if it comes back together, that mail will get to the other side. So we're learning and growing here.
Brian, do you have any WinLink users up there?
Our digital group, we used to do it every Tuesday, and we kind of stopped because we were doing HF WinLink, and that kind of pretty sucked. We'd be lucky if we could get one a month. They're just the stations that were supposedly, according to the WinLink propagation predictor or whatever, and tell us what stations, they were never online. And, we had a lot of difficulty with that, but I was doing it with Packet for a while, and I could go from here to South Mountain to Simi Valley Police Department. And they had at least at the time, they had a node there. So that always worked. So I did very well with the Packet for a long time, but I was the only one that was pretty much totally reliable. So, but now that mesh is in the mix, that could change the whole thing right there.
That ought to be your desired goal. That would be the primary route, and the fallback from there would be VARA FM. A lot of places are replacing Packet with VARA FM because it's just so much faster, and you don't have to deal with the TNC.
Right. And that's software based?
It's software based, and then you need something like a signal link for push to talk and the transformer stuff. But there's no physical TNC.
Okay.
But again, if you got 2 stations on the mesh network, they can pass WinLink traffic between them like crazy.
Yeah, that actually, when you showed that, I'm going to look into that here right away, because that to me is real interesting. And a lot of people. Now, one of the things that we've done is we have 2 or 3 like homeowners association groups we work with that we've set up using FRS radios, and then there's usually 1 ham in the group, at least 1 or 2 hams in the homeowners group. And we've kind of set up systems where we we have a bunch of different components. There's FRS. We have a commercially licensed repeater that we can use. But one of the things that's missing in this whole equation is the ability to send emails to people, because that is the most effective way when people want to get a message to their family and let them know they're okay or something. You know, having a WinLink capabilities would be, you know, that'd put the icing on the cake. So
Yeah, because only one of your WinLink stations needs internet capability. You send the email there and it ships it out over the internet.
right, and there's more than one of us that are on the list for Elon Musk's new little dish, little satellite antennas.
That's good. The one thing about the different WinLink post offices, though, is they don't really relay messages between them. So, you know, say we have 2 or 3 of them on the network, and I have an account KG6WXC on one of them, and somebody Orv over there in the East County has his account on that one over there, and he sends a message to KG6WXC. Well, it doesn't just send that message over the mesh to that other WinLink server.
You have to do it point to point.
Yeah, it doesn't know that. It tries to route it out to the internet.
Yeah.
To the greater WinLink CMS system, which then I can pick it up on the one here, but it's not doing
It's
it
not,
like
it's
really,
not real smart internally.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, Brian, why I did the whole DNS aliases thing. I mean, I put that in the code so that we could make a
Well, what
real
about
email
if we
system.
write a proxy for it?
Maybe.
Now, hey guys, we're kind of
That
getting
could
down
work.
into the weeds. Does anybody have any general questions? This stuff is not expensive. I mean, one of those dishes is like 4 or 5 Baofangs.
And much better, much better.
Easier than Baofangs.
Yeah, I used to say 2 or 3, but you know, inflation.
Yeah, but how much electricity are you running when it's just sitting there and no one's actually using it?
4 watts.
Plus the router.
4 watts. Well, okay, but what about your FM radio just sitting there? You know,
It's generally turned off unless I'm using it.
oh well.
Well, but your router's already running. You're on the internet, right?
Actually, no. Usually my home stuff is all powered off unless I'm actually using it.
Yeah. Well,
it's a good way, but a lot of people don't do that. But to answer your question, each one of them, well, 2.7 watts, but I tell everybody to calculate 4 watts.
It's very practical to run these things off solar and a small battery.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll run on a 12-volt battery.
As long as the cable's not too long.
Yeah, I got I made a portable one that I could take. I made it for Hamfest that I can just set up and it just runs off of a 12-volt, you know, 7 amp hour battery, and it'll run for all day anyway. But if you have a solar panel or something to keep the thing charged, it should be just fine. I got a little solar panel about yay big, and I can run it for about 5 days before it can't catch up anymore. So in a lot of cases, that's all you need. You know, if it's things, you know, if the power is going to be off around here for 2 or 3 days or something, 5 days would be a long time. So usually that's because a fire burnt down your telephone poles or something. But
it's very practical to run these things.
One comment, if we want to upgrade our system, is that we probably have better access to La Cumbre Peak than Gibraltar.
How's the coverage?
I mean, it should be pretty good. It's higher and more central to Santa Barbara.
Do you have access to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's probably about the same, or if not a little better.
Well, it's about twice as high, though.
I'm sorry?
About twice as high.
Oh, well. Do La Cumbre and Gibraltar see each other line of sight?
we have two different Lacumba sites. One of them I think does, the other one probably doesn't. The one that's easiest for us to work with may not, but I haven't really looked.
Okay, well, if they did, then you could link them together with a couple 60 gigahertz devices. They're part 15, but who cares? What's the different distance between the peaks, ballpark?
Couple miles.
Yeah, not very far.
Jeez.
Maybe
okay.
at 2,000 feet in elevation, if that.
Yeah, about that, I think.
The Cox Internet's Lacumba site, the Cox site, we got rid of all the city 5.8, so there's no 5.8 up there that I know of.
Cool.
That might be.
Yeah, they're all going to 10 or 11 gigs.
I didn't tell you that.
One of the main problems with the Santa Barbara network is everything was on the same channel. And so it all just started colliding with each other. And
yeah, we can avoid
it never
that.
worked very well anymore, but there was only one channel to work with really then. So now if we go to, you move it to 5 gigahertz, you can start kind of spreading it out and even using leave the old 2 gigahertz stuff there and just augment it, you know?
We also have a box full of 3 gigahertz stuff that would be nice to use if you could use it for a while.
You could use it for a little while, maybe.
You could
Well,
use
if you
that.
can use it point to point, you probably use it for much longer than that because it's way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and you get it shielded.
Who was telling me about the
continue to use it.
Lacumba Peak, the 2 sites? Who was that?
Me.
Could you send me the coordinates of both of them, please?
All right, I'll try to look those up.
Thanks, appreciate it. Fun with coverage maps.
Yeah, I mean, I can run the radio mobile,
Okay.
coverage apps for both of those.
Okay, just let Brian know which one works better for, line of sight coverage for your purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there was only one channel to work
Yeah, it's actually got great exposure up there. I mean, it's literally about a mile, less than a mile, about 0.8 of a mile to the northeast is Gibraltar, and about a mile and a tenth to the, what would it be, northwest is Lacumba from where I am. So it's very, very visible from a lot of spots. Problem is I'm really close to them and a big drop in elevation. So they're, I have a little difficulty with Lacumba.
Yeah, I mean, we had a node at Lacumba, but I guess it was causing some kind of problem, so we took it down. But we could certainly put one back up, especially at the county site.
We had a mesh node at Lacumba?
Yeah, there was one there, Brian.
There was?
It was totally, yeah, and it and Gibraltar would just basically fight with each other. And all the clients would fight with each other and which one they were going to talk to. And it was just nothing but retransmissions like constantly. So it was, you had to pick one to turn off.
Oh.
So turned off the nano station and kept the higher gain antenna.
Okay, so if we were using 5 gig and we had all those channels to choose from, then we could mitigate that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole
Big
idea is
time.
to spread your traffic out as much as
Big
possible.
time. It could be awesome up there using that and just utilizing all the 5 gigahertz channels that we have up there.
Yeah.
You guys could really get going good.
Another thing to consider is on 2.4, you might be able to run 5 megahertz wide on channel -2 and on channel -1 and spread things out a little bit.
I remember -1 was kind of useless up there. It was just too much splatter from people using 40 and 80 megahertz wide channels on the commercial stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, up on Gibraltar, when we first put the first mesh nodes up there, there was about, I don't know, 15 other rockets and M2s plastered all over the place. So And even then, some of them look pretty weather beaten, like they'd been up there for a while. So there are a lot of, and nobody even seemed to know who they belonged to.
I
Yeah,
think
there's
the
a
last
fair
time I was
number
up
of
there,
them.
still they didn't.
There's a fair number up on San Ynez Peak also of unknown heritage.
You're also going to find a lot of clutter on 5 gigahertz. I've been through that. It's pretty messy.
Yep. But, you know, the things are frequency agile. You know, you can move them and do scans and try and find a quiet spot. We do that from time to time here.
Well, the other thing you can't do it with the but if it's got a connector on the back, you can get a filter.
Well, it doesn't.
Spend money.
Well, oh, geez. Yeah, people have looked at that, and it's just, there isn't much out there, and it's not real practical.
Wayne, what about those Chinese filters that you got?
Those are 121.5.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Surface acoustic wave. They're nice low insertion loss and stuff, but not applicable.
Okay.
I don't think
didn't
they
know.
do those up at gigahertz.
DCI
Okay.
up in Canada makes them.
Anybody else have questions? I think
Well-
we gotta build it and they will come, Eric.
That's what we did down here.
Yeah, pretty much.
We need to kind of revamp this thing up here and
didn't.
figure it out. You know, and we've already got a lot of stuff. We need to get things rolling and get some, there's a couple people I wish that had made the meeting tonight, and I'll speak to them about it tomorrow. But anyway, there are interested people that would really like to see this get going. And I got to be honest, that didn't even occur to me that there were so many more channels in 5 gigahertz until you showed it. I mean, I wasn't even, for whatever reason, I should know better, you know, for whatever reason, I wasn't even thinking that. I'm thinking, okay, well, why do we want to go to 5 gigahertz? Well, because we can split them up.
You can.
So-
Sometimes finding the right spot can be a little challenging, but at least you've got options.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to come get this gear, just let me know. I can even deliver it to Camarillo if that helps. And maybe Eric can pick it up from Port Hueneme, so you don't have to come quite down quite so far.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Eric,
we could.
why don't you, we ought to start doing it while the weather's still good. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
we
a
get-
dumb excuse. It's always good.
At first up there, it was the early days, and we didn't really get to use 5 gigahertz that much. There was already
Well,
some people on it.
we just thought you bought an
And,
M2 and that was it, you know, and you made it work. And
Yeah, but yeah, we can do that stuff. I can go grab it from wherever or something and somehow shuffle it up there if you guys want it. I mean,
Yeah, we can come get it.
let me know.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
just when you're ready, just inquire to figure out where it's at.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
Well, thank you, Orv.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
appreciate it.
Hey,
Very interesting.
you're welcome. Eric will be more than happy to consult with you.
Well, yeah, we get him on Tuesdays, so usually if he's in town anyway, he'll come to the net and we can start talking about this. But also one of the guys, K6RQV, he just retired from the FAA, and he's got extra time, and he mentioned to me that he has a mesh node and he's interested in getting all that stuff going again. So I think we got some energy there. So that
He's
will,
the only 5 gigahertz stuff up there.
huh?
He's the only 5 gigahertz stuff up there so far, is Michael.
Yeah, well, he needs one to talk to.
He does.
Yeah.
Put one up at like the ECSB, I think. Him and Bill went and stuck one
Yeah,
up there. So
yeah,
that he
we
could
put
talk
one
to
up there.
Yeah, oh yeah, he did it too, Wayne. So yeah, he does talk into it, and he's probably got the best links of everybody up there now.
Yeah,
And then
just
we put-
remember, if you're going to tie together two high-level sites, don't use your user access channels. Pick an independent channel. You minimize the hidden terminal problem. Make it a point-to-point. And if you got to go to the third one, use a different channel again, if you can. We did that in the packet days, and a sure survival.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm done.
All right. Well, thank you, Arv. We really appreciate it.
Keep me posted on your progress.
Okay.
Will do.
I will.
See you guys.
See you later.
Coming up
Bye-bye.
to Santa Barbara.
All right, everybody. Well, that's about it. Well, maybe next month we'll do an in-person meeting. We'll see what's going on with the old virus, and maybe this new variant won't last too long. Maybe it'll burn itself out. So they already said in England and a couple of other places that the Delta variant has reached its peak and it's now waning off. So
that's good.
Yeah, so hopefully this won't last too long. But anyway, Club Station will be open tomorrow. Anybody that wants to drop by will be there.
One more thing to add, Brian.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Eric.
You guys, that Mattermost that Orb was showing, you guys actually have that on the Santa Barbara network.
Okay.
I was just trying to upgrade it, and I think I might have broke it, but I can get in there and fix it. But it also has, there's a bot that's connected to it that connects to our internet one. So in theory, when it's all working, you guys will be able to, if you guys go connect to that thing on the mesh, you can chat with us down here in Ventura County and onto the internet via that bot channel. If you get in there, once I get it working, and you get in there and you'll see it working. I think I had a service down there up there advertised for it and everything, but I'll go double check that stuff here this weekend and make sure that it's working for you guys, because you can actually chat with us real time and do that whole sending images and pictures and all that from the internet and the mesh up there still, like currently.
What about that team viewer? Should we set up a server?
If you want to, yeah, you could set one up. I mean, if you guys all get on it up there, though, again, it's all still mostly on one channel on 2.4 gigahertz. So if there's more
Oh,
than
no,
like
no, no,
maybe
I know
two of
that.
you on
but-
it, it's
but
gonna kill it.
We could use it on the internet as well.
Well, yeah, yeah, you could put it on, yeah, you could get TeamViewer server on a cloud somewhere.
Yeah.
But it won't link into the mesh. The Mattermost they won't natively link together. I have to use a bot. There's a bot that's running in like Golang that does it. So
okay.
But anyway, just to add that, you guys, I'll get in there and I'll make sure that it's working for you this weekend. And if you want to get in there and check it out, you got a mesh node and you can see the red cross, then that's where it'll be at.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. Thanks.
All right, everybody drive carefully.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right, see you guys.
Don't trip on your way to the refrigerator.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
Thanks a lot, guys. We really appreciate you letting us tune in. I learned.
Oh,
things here.
anytime.
You're crazy.
And Orv, you did a great job. I'm going to be in touch with you about a couple things. No rush on anything, though. And one last thing, Eric, thank you very much.
Caught that, Callie.
Eric, thanks a lot for helping us with the map in Arizona as well. It's working out pretty well.
Oh yeah, no problem. Hopefully that thing will keep working. It's Dale's the one doing it there, so and every now and again it breaks, but I can get in there and fix it for him.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be there at all without you, so I want to thank you. And
it's
it's been very helpful to us.
That
Okay,
cloud server,
I'm
that
signing-
cloud server doesn't cost me much for what it is, and I need it. It needs to do things. So there you go.
There you go.
It's useless
have a good
without
night.
doing something.
Okay.
You too.
Take
Catch
it
you guys
easy,
later. You bet.
Yep.
See you guys later.
You guys all have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night, Callie.
Thank you, Orv.